Okay, we are like, hi everyone, welcome to TechMaestro again, and this is Karan, and today I have Shashi with me. Shashi is a software engineering intern at Atlassian, is an upcoming software engineering intern at Atlassian, and he's a third year student right now. And in this video, we'll talk all about how did he crack software engineering internship at Atlassian, and what is the process of the interview process at Atlassian. So we'll try to cover each and every aspect of a we'll try to decode each and every aspect of software engineering intern at Atlassian. And before that, I'd like give the stage to Sashi and ask him for a brief introduction. So Sashi, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hello everyone. So my name is Shashi Kiran, and as Karan said, I'm a third year student at Kalinga Institute of Industrial Technology, Bhubaneswar. And yes, I'll be interning at Atlassian this summer itself. So yeah, that's all about me. And mostly I've done competitive coding. So yeah,
Okay,
that's
nice.
where my interest lies in.
So we for the first time on this channel we have a competitive programmer as well. So it's good to have. It's good for a change for us as well. Thank you so much for coming here.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we basically I just basically want to know like what is the interview process for an intern at Atlassian.
Yeah. So Atlassian was an on-campus opportunity. So it came during August, and the first round that we had was a coding round. So we had around three questions about for
Right.
coding, and then after that we had the second round, which was a DSA round, and I was asked one question in it, and many several questions were built up on that question as well. And the
Okay.
third round was the HR round, values and management as they call it. So that was basically behavioral round.
Okay. So basically three rounds. First is coding. Coding basically means online
Yeah,
assessment, the written coding round, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
It
then
was
followed up
on
by two
platform.
interviews, in which
Yeah,
one
for
of
better
it was
interviews.
a technical interview, DSA interview, and the second one is behavioral kind of interview, which is HR
Yeah,
on the basis of values and situation based, right?
yeah, yeah.
Okay. So diving deep into each and every component of these interviews. So can you tell me like what is online assessment at Atlassian, or what is expected in online assessment at Atlassian?
Yeah, okay, so for me, the online assessment had three questions, and the difficulty range was between easy to medium. And the first question was a basic standard stacks question, and the second question was of brute force. So you can expect something like an easy brute force or a standard question in the first two or three questions, and then we had a divide and conquer, and the last one was dynamic programming. So mostly the questions vary from the first two questions will be brute force and simple observational, and the last two would be algorithmic based or DSA based, like graphs, or we have dynamic programming, something like that.
Okay. So basically there are four questions in that case, right? You said first two will
Yeah,
be
sorry,
basic
sorry. We
questions.
had four questions. Yeah,
Okay. So there are four questions. Two will be, you are saying two are easy, two are medium level questions, right?
yeah. Two are easy, and the last one would be a bit medium to hard.
Okay, understood. So, okay,
Yeah,
so basically, just to repeat, there are four questions in online assessment.
yeah.
Online assessment basically covers first two questions are easy, third question is a medium, and fourth is medium hard. Was there
Yeah.
any MCQ or any CS fundamental kind of question in
No,
the
no, we
online
didn't have
assessment?
any such question.
Okay, it only contained basically the
Coding
coding
questions. Yeah,
questions.
yeah.
Okay, understood.
And I was
Okay,
able to solve three of them: the first, second, and the last one.
okay, so okay. Moving on to the next, which is DSA round. So how did the DSA interview, technical interview, and what is the expectation in DSA round basically?
Yeah, so the technical interview would be the interview would ask a question which is set according to the Atlassian standards, and he would, ask you to share your screen and share your thought process as well while solving the question. So my question was a hashing one, but we had many sub questions in it as well. So yeah, it would be an easy to medium question, and if you know your STLs and basic observation skills well, then you will be able to solve them. So I wasn't asked any data structure related like graph or DP, just a simple hashing question, and yeah, that was it.
Okay, so and you were only asked only one question, right?
Yeah, one question, and they had many sub questions in it as well.
Can you like give us an
Yeah,
example or
the,
some sort of
yeah.
a
The question
related to
was
it?
like,
Yeah.
we have some users, and we have the login time as well. So you have to count at any particular time how many users are active. And then he extended the question by saying that the user's active login time and his logout time is given as well. Now you have to find the range in between which the maximum number of users were active at that point. So yeah, kind of like that. And there were one or two more sub questions. I don't remember them well.
Okay, so basically it was more about hashing, then basic BST kind of question. It converted into BST heap kind of question because you have to
No,
find it in the range.
not mostly, like hashing and STLs. So it's not exactly, I didn't have to use any BST. So I just use standard templates like sets and maps and map offsets, something like that.
Okay, but I was mainly talking about under the hood, like how STL actually implement. They generally
Oh
implement
yeah,
more.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay, understood.
That
So
is
the
one.
question was of a very good level in that case. Basically, if you need to understand how things work or the basic theory of basic data structures like
Yeah,
hash, as you mentioned, and then maybe tree set kind of thing, or map,
yeah,
how
yeah.
does map work, which data structure internally does it use, right? So I think,
So
okay,
I had
understood.
that practice well, so I thought it was easy. So yeah,
Okay,
maybe
okay.
not.
So we covered coding, then we covered DS. In the last round, you said was behavioral round. So what
Yeah.
was the expectation in behavioral round?
So first of all, the HR, it was named as values and management. So he asked for my introduction and for any projects I made, but I was so focused on competitive coding that I hadn't made any major projects or something like this. So I just told him that I am more focused on coding, the coding aspect and problem solving aspect. So I'm just exploring. I'll do more projects in the upcoming months. So that's why I didn't have many questions around the projects arena. And mostly he asked me situational based questions like if you are given a team of and you have to choose, let's say, four members for them, so what roles would you prefer and something like that. So yeah, and he gave me some backlogs as well. So like if we didn't have a particular member available, then what will you do, something like that. So mostly situational and behavioral, like in my resume I had written that I like debate, so he wanted to ask some debatorial questions, something like that.
Okay,
It's
and
mostly resume based and situational based.
okay, mentioned earlier like you were very focused on competitive programming or
Yeah.
programming in general, and you'd never focused on project. This
Projects,
is
yeah.
out of the you can say Atlassian context, or you can put it in Atlassian context as well. But how did that impact on your overall, you can say interview processes or getting callback or resume getting shortlisted? Like, was not doing project had a big impact on your resume not getting shortlisted?
Okay, mostly because it was on campus. That's why my projects didn't matter as much. So it was mostly the maximum, impact was on my problem solving skills and the interview experience, whatever I had. So this will mostly focus on that because it was on campus. So I can say that if it's an off campus internship opportunity, then you must have had some good projects, because then resume shortlisting would become difficult for you.
Okay, understood. Okay, moving on to basically, so we know what is in the interview process, what are the rounds, and then what are the expectation or the kind of questions that get asked. I
Yes.
want to know, like, how did you prepare for it? Although you have already mentioned you have been doing competitive programming, but how did you get into competitive programming, or how much have you done it? Like the
Okay.
preparation strategy for DSA, or some for anyone who is looking on the this video right now.
Yeah. So I started coding in my like fourth semester, at the end of fourth semester, and I already knew coding because I had it in my school years for 11 and 12. I had C++, so I knew coding. I just wanted to explore more. So I first started out with HackerRank. Now the HackerRank is a very good platform for beginners. So you get to solve many questions, like simple questions, but they enhance your logic building skills, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I started out with HackerRank, and after reaching around, like, I think it's 5 stars or something like that on HackerRank, I went ahead and went to CodeChef. Started giving contests on CodeChef, like long challenge and the short challenge, something like all of those. So the like CodeChef is a very good platform, especially the long challenge. Long challenge was very good to we had 10 days to solve
Hmm.
a few questions, and you practice mostly. Even if you don't know a question, you can always look through for, study any material that you think is necessary. So yeah, that was very helpful in that case. And then I started out Code Forces. Now, Code Forces was very difficult in my, when I started out. So yeah, I wasn't able to solve more than one question at the beginning, but then I started out looking for YouTube channels as well. So uh, Shikhar Garg is the CodeBuddy official, his channel's name. So that's where I mostly learned about CP, and he gave out a roadmap. So that's the roadmap I followed. And yes, after giving code forces for a few months or so, I became accustomed to the competitive coding, that platform as well. And yeah, that's how I started out coding. And it's like not necessary to know all the data structures and algorithm before starting out for CP. So you can just learn on the go. And when still I have not yet practiced all of them, so I still have a few chapters from trees and graphs left. So yeah, you can do it. And mostly the questions would be, if you are accustomed to the competitive coding platforms, so the DSA round would not be much difficult for you as compared to others. So yeah, that's a very big help in DSA rounds mostly.
Okay. So I just want to repeat the steps that you mentioned. Like you started with basics. You started with very basics on hacker rank.
Other
You built
ranking,
it. You built it some logic. It helped you build the logic.
logic building skills,
Perspective
yeah.
of how do you build a logic for a question, and then you move to Code Chef, and then you move to Code Forces.
Code process,
And
yeah.
you mentioned that initially it is very hard to solve questions. So I think it's very common with everyone. But I have a
Yeah,
follow up question on that, which is like it happens with everyone. Like it happened with me as well. When initially when you are not able to solve questions, the chances, or like you always think of quitting, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
did that thought come to your mind, and how did you survive that thought process?
Okay, yeah. So mostly, yeah, when I started out Code Forces, especially, it was very demotivating because I saw many thousands of submissions on those questions, and I wasn't even able to understand the question. So yeah, it's demotivating at the first. But if you know your basics, coding skills, and you are confident in your basic skills, then you can always build up logic and learn extra things, stuff that you need to know. So for me, I knew that I am not able to solve these questions because I haven't yet prepared for this topic. So like, let's say bit manipulation. So I didn't know bit manipulation. That's why I wasn't able to solve the question. So that's what I knew. So I started out learning those things which I didn't know, and then I started out solving those questions, and I was able to solve 2 3 questions in code process, and that gave me confidence. So yeah,
Okay.
it's demotivating, but you have got to understand that it's like, if you have your fundamentals clear, then maybe don't know that very particular topic, something like
Okay.
that.
Understood. That is a really good tip, definitely. So okay, moving on to the next part, which may be a little difficult or strange for you. Like how did you
Okay.
prepare for hiring manager round?
Yeah, like honestly, I didn't know I would make it that far. So the hiring manager round, I was like, "Jo hoga dekha jayega." So I had that level of confidence. So I just went ahead and gave it on spot. So whatever questions he threw at me, I just answered it without stopping or something, like without thinking for about it for long. So it's like, you just imagine he's a friend or a senior sitting in front of you, and he's asking a few questions, and you can just go through it easily.
Okay, so my piece of advice to everyone who is watching: don't do that. It happens. Like he might have done very good in coding, and so sometimes what happens is if you have done very well in the first 2 rounds, 3 rounds, then they may overlook a bit in the last
Oh,
round, but it's not always the case, right? So I'll give my piece of advice because I've fair share of interview experience giving and taking both for hiring manager or behavioral kind of round. So basically, generally, how do you practice for hiring manager round is you look at the core values of the company. Atlassian has its set of core values. I think there are 5 values, if I remember correctly. So first of all, you need to understand the core values of the company. Then you need to figure out the questions on those core values, like basic questions that, in fact, he might also have gone through. Is like how do you basically take care of conflict management, on how bias on actions,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
these questions are there. So you take questions from internet, or the second option is, there's a GitHub repository linked in the description below. It contains a list of all the behavioral questions. You can pick those questions. You should write them down somewhere. Write your own situation. Try to answer that into a star format. Star is basically situation, task, action, result. Situation is what was the situation. T is that what task was there. Action, what did you do as a person, and R is the result. What happened out of the, like, what happened for that situation, for the task, given action, what happened. So try to write your answers in a star format, and try to write it into a Google Doc or a Google Sheet, taki you don't forget a situation when it is given to you in an interview. So don't, there are a lot of like, I have a lot of mentees and a lot of juniors, in fact seniors and peers as well, who got rejected just because of hiring manager round. And it's very frustrating, right? You wouldn't want to get rejected at the last stage of the interview process.
Yeah.
So this is my piece of advice. And in fact, like, the same repository contains link to almost all the type of courses that you would need in computer science interview processes. CS fundamental, data science, data structure algorithm, DSA, HLD, LLD. Check that out, and you can definitely you will find it useful, and it's arranged in a very structured format. Okay, and while we are at it, so if you're still watching the video, and if you like my the video, like especially all the advices that Shashi has given us so far, please click on the subscribe button. Please click on that bell icon so that you get notification about or all our upcoming videos very quickly. Okay, I had to basically squeeze in my marketing stunt, right?
That's a, yeah, so that's a piece of advice I should note as well. Maybe I was lucky in my management round, so hiring manager round.
Yeah.
I didn't prepare much. Yeah, I looked at the values. It was mostly in the pre-placement talk session. So yeah, the values. He asked me the values, and he also asked. So the question was, why would you want to join Atlassian? So I just batted out the generic answer that we have good values, and then he countered with the question that all of the companies claim that they have good values. So why are you so focused on Atlassian? So I fumbled at that point, so I didn't know. Yeah, I said that, yeah, all the companies say that they have, but most of them don't follow through. And I have watched Atlassian reviews that, yeah, they go follow through all of their values and are a very good company work culture wise. Yeah.
That is actually a really good answer, to be honest. You saved yourself at the last moment in that case. Okay. Okay, moving on, like, basically the final piece of advice that you have for the people who everyone who is watching this video, what is your one, or like any piece of advice that you want to give to them?
Okay, so the mostly you must focus on your DSS skills. That's the most important aspect for me because it was on campus. I don't know if they ask theoretical questions or MCQs or something like that. But for me, it wasn't asked. So yeah, the most of the focus was on coding, and is to focus on coding mostly. And yeah, there are a few subjects which the questions might pop up from, like networking and operating systems and DBMS. So yeah, prepare them as well. And for, as Karan said, for HR management, for HR round, prepare likewise, like how the situation based questions are asked and all the values, and look at the values and all.
Okay, sure. And in fact, like, I'll definitely echo with what you said. Focus on CS fundamental. It's not just about interviews. You will
Yeah.
need CS fundamental in your day-to-day life, no matter what you do. Even in computer CP, he would need basic understanding of how actually the compiler work, or how does
Yeah.
the operating system work, how does memory work, how does memorization work, right? All these things are definitely required. So focus on CS fundamental. People just try to overlook or go through, or basically want shortcuts, and they don't want to focus on the real values. And in my opinion, CS fundamentals is very very important subject, is very very important aspect of a good software engineering life. So definitely. Okay, we have couple of questions. I think
Yeah.
few of them are already answered, but still, like, how to is asking, where do you practice MCQs? I don't think this is with respect to Atlassian in general. Like, where do you practice MCQs, if you know?
MCQs, mostly you can find questions from Sand Foundry. So they have set of questions asked previously in many companies, and also you can go for Geeks for Geeks. So they have very good archives for specific companies. So yeah, like there's one more thing. Like before giving the interviews at Atlassian, when I was shortlisted for the coding round, I went through the archives, Atlassian archives at Geeks for Geeks. So yeah, they had a set of questions and MCQs which might be asked in the coding round and HR round. So yeah, that's very important. And before the coding round as well, one of the questions actually matched, like not entirely matched, but the format was similar. So yeah,
Makes
you
sense.
can,
So
yeah,
that is, I will also advise to every person, like go go through Geek for Geeks or Lead Code experiences and try to solve
yeah,
entire experience by yourself. See where you stand. It's a very
yeah.
good opportunity to measure yourself against the actual standard of the company. So that would be good. Okay. There's a question. Can you share your Codeforce handle? I think Darth Grave is your Codeforce handle,
It's
right?
like I guess Geek Grave or something like that. Yeah, just let me check once.
In the meantime, I'll take one more question. I have VMware coding round tomorrow. Kindly share some tip. Okay, Snehil, what you can do is you can actually post this in our Discord community, and we will try to connect you with someone at VMware, some expert at VMware, or in fact, overall idea, a generic idea that I have, I can share my perspective with you for VMware as well. But in fact, we actually have mentors from VMware in our community, so that they will give you much better uh, they will give you much better context and actual answers for this. So yes, and guys, I have so
I
Jaganesh,
saw
I
it
just
too.
pinged. I just pinged the Codeforce's username for from uh, basically. I just pinged it in the chat, so you can take it and copy paste as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, I think that's about it, and that's all I have. Any And first of all, again, thank you so much, Sashi, for coming online and giving your time for us and sharing this
Thanks for
and
having me.
your experience and knowledge with all of us. And again, thank you so much, everyone, for watching this video till the end. And if you have not done it, please click on the like button, comment down below what if you have any doubt or any query. Me or Sashi, someone will answer your query. Or if you haven't done it, please click on the subscribe button, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.